So I'm so excited to have Edie Franklin here with me this morning. It's a hard topic, but it's probably going to be or go down as one of the most important Facebook Lives I do. This topic of human trafficking has become one of my, I will say, one of my sort of nonprofit pet projects. I'm working currently with the Detroit Crime Commission. Edie probably knows that she's probably got me if she wants me for Sanctum House because um, I've been learning. I like to say along the way about human trafficking, and human trafficking um, is despicable, and it can happen to anybody. And so I want to spend this time this morning in hopes that we can educate uh, anyone listening. I hope that they'll share this link this morning and pass it along. And we're going to talk more this month and hopefully continue this conversation. But today is all about this wonderful woman. And first and foremost, we're going to say a shout out to our friend Carol Rader. And if
Right.
Scott's and my close old friend Scotty, if he's
Hi,
listening.
Carol.
Hi, Carol. But Carol lives way out in California, and you just never know in life. What a small world. I mean, life is a small world. You don't know where the world will take you, and here we are, this connection. So, Edie, welcome. Thank you. You and I just met, and I feel like we are, well, to know you, which everybody tells me,
Yeah.
you become fast, furious friends. Edie is the founder of Sanctum House, and it's really important. Please tell us about Sanctum House first.
Well, first, I want to thank you for having me on the show. And we know that it's, National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So I know you're doing a lot of awareness this month, and we're doing a lot of press and promo and whatever to let people know that it exists. But it exists 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So even though it's highlighted this month, we like to talk about the fact that it goes on every minute of every day. But Sanctum House, what came to as a notion to me in 2013, the end of 13, and we had our first planning committee meeting in May of 2014. So it was 4 or 5 years, 5 years of research and development to develop a program. I was I do a self-development class pretty much every year, something to improve myself and what's going on.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So this year I was doing a class and I had to find a gap, a hole in society that was missing and fill that gap. So I know we all look to our own past, because we only go to what we know. And at that time, there was a lot of conversation about human trafficking. And I had always been a woman at risk. I was alcoholic from the time I was young. I was a heroin addict from my 20s to my 30s. I didn't get clean till my 40s, and I'm now 33 years clean. So I go back, and I lived in a long-term treatment facility. And as I was looking around the country, and I didn't know a lot about I was an entrepreneur and a school teacher and stuff like that. I didn't know anything really about the nonprofit world. So I started taking classes about nonprofits and what was going on in human trafficking and going to task force meetings. And I realized that even though there were so many women and children and boys, I'm going to speak women, I'm going to say women, but it's boys, men, girls, babies, it's all across the board. But I realized that there were no long-term treatment facilities in southeastern Michigan, specifically to treat adult women survivors of human trafficking. And because I had lived in a program, I knew that, and I had gone through other rehab programs that were 3 weeks, a month, 6 months, you know what I mean?
Right.
The extreme trauma and addiction, because Sanctum House is a dual diagnosis program of drugs and addiction and trauma rather. So we're a 2-year program for women 18 years of age and older. We're staffed 24 hours a day, and we have all the ancillary products and things to help make a person whole. So I decided we were going to start this nonprofit, and we got our nonprofit status in 2015. But in the meantime, we were writing this program and trying to get a building and a place to go. So
Mm.
when we got the building we didn't get a building till 2017. And now we're open from 2017. It'll be 3 years, February 12th, 21.
And I think
So
what we have learned by addiction or resources and help is that when a person can have long term, they're going to have greater success. And I think
absolutely.
and I think that's obviously what you know and have learned. You kindly introduced me to someone the other day, and I think what struck me in meeting her was she was someone who was she was trafficked at, it was a horrific story. And I was so blessed to meet her and know how well she's doing in her life. And thank God for Sanctum House for her. But the resources that Sanctum House gave her, which I know you can speak to, but when you're trafficked at such a young age, I mean, she was molested very young, trafficked, through her life, simple things like she didn't know how to cook, scramble an egg, the things that we teach our kids who go off to live on their own. I mean, she had no idea how to do. And, you know, so I go a little bit into what
Mhm.
saying, besides the resources of Sanctum House, um, giving people back their life and their confidence. It's not only that, it's being able to have them go out into the world to live.
Right. Well, when they first come in, they get a couple of weeks to kind of relax, realize, okay, I'm in a safe place, because they come knowing that we're an up to 2 year program. It's an individualized program. Each woman works with a caseworker and a social worker so that they can develop the kind of life that they think they want to see for
Mm-hmm.
themselves, which may start out one way and it ends up an entirely different way at the
Mm-hmm.
end. But when they first come in, they get to a psychiatrist. So we want to make sure that so we have a 3-step intake process. They do an application, or they get a referral, then they come in and we do a personal interview. So we have to make sure that they have been a traffic victim and that they're mentally stable, because we are not a mental, I mean, there are other
Right.
places that do mental health, and we don't do mental health in that way. So, but we do get them to a psychiatrist, we get them to a psychologist, they get trauma therapy up to 3 times a week. We have a survivors group, a survivor led. In fact, Joyce does our survivor led group.
Mm-hmm.
She's a therapist. We do financial fitness. So we address this physical, because sometimes they're so drugged from being in the streets, they don't know that they're in pain or they're hurt. But
Right.
some of the visual things you can see that need to be taken care of. So we also take care of, we have dental care and vision care, and we get them to a social worker. We deal with the physical, the psychological, also the emotional with the social worker and their therapists, the educational. So we work with, over 30 community partners. I mean, Wayne State is giving us, classes, and OCC is giving us our women's scholarship. And we offer them, GEDs and high school diplomas. So we get education for the women, not only, financial fitness, because they never, even though everything they did was a transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So we get them healthy relationships. They don't know how to have a real relationship with a person, because they were always the commodity. So
Sure.
they were the commodity. And okay, you'll do this, I have to do this. And then we're
Right.
not faith-based, but we do have a spiritual entity. So whatever someone wants to do, they can do. We have a woman right now that's doing her master's program in the seminary. So, and we have a woman that's on the dean's list at OCC, and we teach them. Some don't know how to load a dishwasher, like you said. They don't know how to cook.
Yeah.
They don't know how to clean. They never had to do any of those things. So more than just a safe house for human trafficking victims, there's so much more that goes into it, because they're also really domestic violence. It's,
Mm-hmm.
personal relationship, sexual abuse that you have to deal with. And then the addiction component, 98% of our women come to us and they've been addicted. So we're a clean house. So we deal with recovery and AA and NA and all the, let me turn this off here, all the,
We're live, I always say.
right.
I always say
All of,
dogs bark, kids, and we're in Zoom world. So
right. The real world pops in
yeah,
sometimes,
exactly.
right? So anyway, so we deal with all these other facets, of their life that, and some of the things we have to address is what causes a victim of human trafficking. So the
Yeah.
definition of human trafficking is force, fraud, or coercion. Those are the three things that have to be part of it if you are trafficked. But what causes it? Adjunct poverty, and if you're vulnerable, and people think it's a violent crime. I mean, there's so many myths out there. They think it's a crime of violence. It's not. It's usually familial. It's a mother, a father selling their kids, an uncle, an aunt, a cousin, a girlfriend says, "Hey, I got a guy who can make you a movie star. Let's go over there." And then often they drug them, they rape them, and then they blackmail them, and then they start to groom them. I mean, the pimps and the abusers are very patient, and they will take their time because each woman is worth a lot of money to them. I mean, it's like the drug addicts. You sell a pound of cocaine one time, and you got to go buy another bottle of a bag of cocaine. You don't have to do that with a woman or a person that you're abusing. You can tell them over and over and over again until they're used up, and then they become throwaways, and then they go on to the next. So
how do people get to Sanctum House? How are people finding you?
Okay, so one, we're on the Polaris National Hotline, is a recommended facility, which is very good. So they come to us nationally.
Okay.
They sometimes come from other programs where they've aged out.
Okay.
They come to us through jails. We do a lot of outreach. Well, we did a ton of outreach before COVID, but that's why it's so important for us to do stuff like this, to get the word out and to know that this is how we fundraise also, is people to give us money. By giving them awareness, they learn that that's how we support ourselves. But they come to us from jails. They come to us from other treatment facilities. They'll call the Common Ground hotline, and Common Ground will say, you sound like a perfect program, because we go out and teach doctors and nurses and programs of what our program is, and they can kind of now spot who's an ideal candidate for our program. At first, we were taking women, right off the street that were addicted. Well, we are not really a recovery house per se like that. And we take their phones away for 3 months so that they kind of have to disconnect from the street. They can't use a phone. So, but the minute they get their phone, they want to relapse. They're drawn back, because at that time they're starting to do therapy. So they're addressing their trauma and their addiction. So what do you address first? If you address the trauma first, okay, now they're hurting so bad they can't face it, they want to use. If you do the addiction first, well, we're really a human trafficking trauma house. So you have to it's a fine line of getting the correct therapists that can do both and move them along. So we get them from all over the place. Sometimes a mother will call and say, "I think my child is in trouble, and could you please interview her, or can she come to your program?" Or they come themselves. They find us when they get a free time. They're searching the internet and they find us and call. I had a girl actually yesterday call me, and it's interesting because I just read this morning in Washtenaw County, they're not going to arrest people that are in prostitution on their own. Okay. So in prostitution on your own, I mean, it's like the woman you interviewed the other day. She didn't even know she was trafficked. A lot of our women, they think they're doing it because they want to do it, because they've been brainwashed by their pimp. Or they think they're in love with their pimp or their abuser, or it's their father, or it's the father of their children. And so they don't think they think they're doing it on their own. So I think that's a bad idea. I might say so. And so do most of the people in the industry. Think it's like legalizing prostitution, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah, it is interesting that as I've interviewed survivors, they don't realize they've been trafficked. It's a very interesting phenomena I've come across, which says to me that the word human trafficking needs to get out there more and more at the younger age, and we really need to, you know, be using time to make kids awareness. One of the people I did interview, point blank, I said to her, you know, we talk a lot about drugs and alcohol in the school. And, you know, what would you say to your school? And she said, oh, I think we need to talk about human trafficking right in our school. You know, we start these drug and alcohol programs, which super important, but we really need to be talking about this at a very young age in our schools, recognizing the signs so we can help our friends,
Right.
but we can also recognize what is possibly happening to us
Right.
when we are going on the internet or staying away from the internet. You know,
It's like you said, the signs, like you said, the signs. So we can be our brother's keeper. If
yeah,
you have a friend that's kind of pulling away from your
hmm,
friend group, and all of a sudden she's got a lot of bling, or is getting expensive
exactly.
gifts, or is dressing differently, or has friends now that are, older than her, and is
Hmm.
pulling away from her family, you might think, okay, somehow she's doing something different, and we can, talk to our friends, and we
This
have to
is
kind of,
this is another area of see something, say something, and
right,
we need to be teaching our, you know, and we need to be teaching our kids. This is another area of awareness.
right, right. It's like
Um,
bullying, you
yeah,
can't bully people. People are
we're
not
putting a lot
property.
on we're putting a lot on our kids, but it's out there, so
Hmm.
we have to address it. And you know, I say like the internet's a good thing, but
Right,
with the good comes evil. You know,
exactly.
you mentioned something, and I don't, you know, I want to watch our time, but with all of this comes the fact that you are a nonprofit, which means,
Right,
and I don't shy away from it, everybody knows, I say that means that you need to raise money.
right.
And people who know me to say I will ask for it.
Oh, good. You can be my mouthpiece.
So here everybody, don't turn away from those computer screens. The bottom line is this is important, and you are doing a capital campaign. You are
Correct.
having an event come up. Your services are so needed, um, but they come at
At a
costs.
price. Mhm.
And so, you know, everybody get out your checkbooks.
That'd be great. Yeah. No, our
But no,
program,
but I
our
mean, you just laid out, and all kidding aside, that you know, that the bottom line is tell people what you're doing with your capital campaign, and with your event coming up on
well, our
Tuesday.
event is Tuesday, at 10, from 10 to 11 in the morning. And you can go to our website, sanctumhouse.org, and buy a ticket, $30 a ticket for an hour, with a panel to introduce you to, three very wise people in the human trafficking world. We'll have two
Hmm.
survivors speaking, and we're giving out our Spirit of Sanctum House Award. And we would love you to come and see what we're doing. So that would be great. Karen Drew is going to monitor it. So, be our moderator, our host. So we're excited about that. That's this Tuesday. Go to the website. And we are doing a capital campaign for $3 million to raise, so that we can expand our scope. One, we want to purchase the building that we're now leasing. We have a 3-acre piece of property with another house on it and an apartment building, where we can do the whole program that we're doing and triple our capacity, and then expand. And we're in the process of working on an outreach program to reach, perhaps through a telephone link and what have you, the rest of the country by phone that we can't do it. And ultimately, our goal is to open other sanctum houses and help other people do what we do. Because the truth is, we have been successful. We have
Hmm.
graduates, we have people ready to graduate, we have people buying cars, getting rid of felony convictions. You know what I mean? We're really helping reunite families and have people become, we're changing lives and legacies, in all honesty. And they
Yeah, and
come to us.
I can be a testimonial to that, as I met someone, as I said. I met a lovely woman who um, will be part of a video for the Detroit Crime Commission, an event at the end of the month that I'll be talking about later in this month. I want you to go first to the Sanctum House event on Tuesday, and that please go to sanctumhouse.org. Um, but you are changing lives. You know, for this woman to have gone through what she's gone through, found you, be reunited with her, all of her children, which she had not been. You'll see her story, but um, to be able to now be in a loving relationship, to know love, to be, you know, getting married. Um, it's an incredible story that she has. Um, to come full circle, to not know at all what love was, to have love. Um, and she really attributes that to Sanctum House and her recovery. And she had to do the work. You know, I think it's important to say that because I want a survivor um, to recognize their strength. Because, and I said that
I,
to her.
when you say that, I think it's really important to recognize that we always say that we do not save women. We
Mm,
give women tools to save themselves.
yeah,
We give them what they need and we give them a path. So we peddle love and hope and a path and give them the fact that possibilities are endless for their lives. But they do the heavy lifting. They have to be willing
yeah.
to, the other thing I always say is the only way out is through. If they don't go back and they have to, and it's painful and it's hard
Oh,
go back and feel the past and relive it and understand that it wasn't you, you know, you are not bad, you know, and to
yeah.
go through that kind of extreme therapy, but they do all the work.
No,
They're
because they come to
very
you, they
courageous.
come to you with it, they are coming to you for sure thinking it was them. That is what they were told. That is what that is innate in them. And they have to go through to know that it wasn't them at all.
And
You know,
that's
and to see the person that I got to talk to, and I thanked her. I thought about her all weekend. She's just a beautiful woman, and I'm so happy that she has this wonderful life now. She did the work. She's doing the work. It will
right.
never end. Um, and but to find Sanctum House, and that you're doing this capital campaign, which I know in the nonprofit world how hard that is. But you have stories to tell. And so I'm glad today we could talk, and I hope people ears are out. Like I said at the beginning, it's hard to tell these stories. It's hard to hear these stories, but I always say I have been a storyteller my whole life, and not every story is a Disney princess story. It just isn't.
No, they're not. And it's and if people can change their view, I think one of the things, because it is an ugly thing to look at, and many people feel that they have chosen this life.
Yeah,
And it's important to realize that compliance is not consent.
no.
Just because they're doing it doesn't mean that they want to be there, because they don't. Most
No,
of them don't.
I think, you know, yesterday also was eye-opening to me. I spoke with a lieutenant in Oakland County who walked the streets undercover. She was fascinating. And walk the streets undercover as a prostitute, to find that many of the women um, were not walking the streets, they were being trafficked. So, as you might be down in Detroit or in Miami or New York, and you see someone walking the streets, and you in your mind are thinking, you might have to be changing your thought process of why they are there. And it gave me a lot of thought as I was listening to her. Um, and someone who like myself, who I've been doing a lot of research on this, it gave me a lot of thought at that moment to say, you know, wow, they there's a lot of reasons they are out there, and it is not their free will, many of them,
Right.
and
That's why we have
it's
to change our paradigm.
we do, And I can't thank you enough for being with me
Oh,
today.
gosh, thank you so much for helping us get the word out.
I
No?
Tuesday, January 19th from 10 to 11.
Right.
I never like to say only, but it is $30. It is an hour of being
Good
on
information.
Zoom.
Right.
It's
Hello.
we are on Zoom. You can be safe, and we're losing Edie there.
There you go.
We're
My
already losing her
laptop fell off.
laptop. So I will let you go. Thank you.
Thank you so
We're gonna
much.
share all this. Keep sharing this information. I will see you soon.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
my
you so much,
friend.
Siri. Have a wonderful day and a
You
great
too.
weekend.
Bye
All right.
bye.
Bye-bye.